Okay, so good evening and welcome to July. This is our July 2022 monthly money meetup, our first Wednesday's money meetup. My name is Renard Brown and I'm the executive director of the Baltimore Economic Leadership League. With me is Mr. Will Holmes. We also have Dr. Rumala, who's going to be our guest speaker that I will be introducing in a little bit. Thank you, all of you, for coming out and for your attention in what promises to be a very exciting topic when we're talking about getting money for businesses. I do want to ask and invite all of you, if you are not members, to join the Baltimore Economic Leadership League at joinbell.org, what you see behind me. I'll also be providing some links in the chat. Prior information on our monthly money meetups can be found at our news site. I'm going to be sending you a link to that in the chat as well. We had a great HR talk last time, and I definitely want to make sure that you all are taking advantage of all of those as we have them. We also are running a summer membership drive. So there's discounted memberships on offer for a whole year if folks want to join Bell. So please encourage those in your network to do so at, again, joinbell.org. And we have some new sponsorship opportunities out on the site. So definitely encourage you to check those out. For those of you who may have participated in our spring sunset cruise, in the fall, we have another get together coming up. Check it out on our Bell site, which is going to be our Gold Masquerade. As you're thinking about your planning into September, it's going to be on September 25th. Check our site out. We've got some exciting stuff that's going to be happening on that and some more particulars around that to follow. Okay. So let me introduce our guest speaker. Ms. Dorothy Rumala is going to be talking to us. She has an extensive background in finance and accounting, and she's going to be talking to us about what businesses are always interested in, which is how to get money, right? So without further ado, Ms. Rumala, you have the floor. Go right ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bell Monthly Money Talk. I'm here to talk about the financial to-do for your business. This short presentation on funding your business will provide you with knowledge on sources of capital available for your business and what loan officers are looking to see. I have audited businesses ranging from the Fortune 500 to small companies throughout my career. And I'm yet to see one big company that does not have a loan on its balance sheet. One thing though is that most of these companies keep thriving with all that debt. However, I wouldn't imply that you must take loan for your company, but since every company is unique, you should routinely conduct a financial assessment of your company to see if you need one. So we have sources of capital. There's so much money to go around, and it's incredible how much money is available to small business owners. And it is even more incredible the different ways you can generate capital. We have the internal sources, which is through your business operations. And we have the external sources, which is through loans or ownership's equity, that's fund invested by the owner into the business. That's the internal source, and we have the external. So for the internal sources, some of the example of internal source cash flow, the cash, the times and expenses. And also we have customer advances and prepayments, trade credit, accrued expenses, and taxes. With the accrued expenses, you want to make sure you have how you pay for your accruals, like insurance and for taxes. And this is one thing you don't want to play with, because most lenders will not loan you money if you don't pay that, especially with the payroll taxes. We also have other forms of internal sources, which is the employee stock option plans. And we also have the owner's equity and other options like licensing. If you don't have other resources, you can also do licenses to acquire more capital for your business. Okay, so we have the external sources, which has to do with the bank debt. And please, if you have any questions along the line, you can always type your questions in the chat, and I'll definitely get to it after this presentation. So we have the external which is the bank debt. Bank debt, which requires sufficient, this particular type of debt requires sufficient equity and strong personal credit before you can obtain a loan. Other forms of capital you can obtain is the other debt-based loan sources, which has to do with mortgage brokers, insurance companies, pension funds, and so on. We also have the inventory financing, small business administration, and we also have Bell. I would encourage you today to ask Bell as many questions as possible. Choosing the right source. Lenders do not just give money to anyone who asks. Whether a venture capitalist or a bank, they usually have a focus. Some give loans only to small businesses, and while others only invest in builders. So you want to check out which source applies to your need. And another thing is the criteria in terms of loan. We have the capital loan, which is also capital or money. You also need to learn about the criteria in terms of multiple source of capital. With that, you'll be able to determine which loan fits your criteria and what the terms are for the repayment and for having to give you the loan. And you would also always do your due diligence. The more you learn about the lender or source, the more you can tailor your application specific. Problems we get with getting capital are when a business has too much debt, and also you have unanswered lenders questions, and it's disorganized whereby you don't have everything in place and you have to go back and forth, and you don't have enough evidence of a strong cash flow. A strong cash flow meaning you have income coming and expense, your income covers your expense, and there's also a way that you can repay the loan. So here are some of the questions to ask yourself when you're deciding on a loan. When deciding on a loan, you would ask, how much money do you need? When do you need the money? How and when will you repay it? And what are the risks associated with this loan or with you, the company? A financial forecast can actually help you answer the first three questions, because once you take a look at those, your financial flow, you'll be able to determine how much money you need and when you would need it, what time of the year would you need it, what time of the month would you need it, how and when would you be able to repay it? Is it from your profit? Is it from your profit, and how and what part can you repay it with? So we have financial forecasting, which is in presenting a meaningful cash forecast, you would need to take a good look at your cash inflows and outflows. Until the money coming in is greater than the money going out, there'll be no money left. Cash coming in and cash going out does not equate to your financial statement. So that's totally different from your financial statement, because sometimes like towards the end of the year, usually when business owners are preparing their taxes, their accountants usually ask them, so how much did you make? And you're like, oh, I made so amount of money, but I don't have any money in the bank. So that's one difference between how much you make and what your cash flow actually is. So it doesn't have to equate with the financial statement. Well, you need both this to actually secure a loan. The goal is to get it to come, the goal usually is to get money to come in fast and have it, the expenses be low. Forecasting is an educated guess as to where money is coming from and where it's going to. This determines how much you have and how long it will take to repay the loan. You always have to watch out for the cash in, the cash out, and your ending balance. And that shows you how your cash flow is. So we have a risk checklist, and I call this a risk checklist because you're going to be risking all of this in order to get more capital. And this is what lenders are looking at for your company. And it's going to be your character. Lenders want to know about your company. They look at your integrity and reliability in meeting financial obligations and your ability to follow and understand your numbers and their performance. Then we have capacity. Capacity represents the overall financial strength of your company. Lenders want a return on capital and some level of interest. They look at the quality of your financial statement and the personal financial information of the owners. So that is also important. And another one will be capital. The capital implies, how do you plan to repay the loan? Is it from your profit? And with this, there are different ratios that are actually calculated in order to determine if you would be able to repay the loan back. Collateral. This proves to the lender that their money is safe even when the worst happens. They look at what assets are available in support are available to support the primary source of your repayment. And we also have conditions, which is also circumstances. And this is, every business has its own unique strength and weakness. This that determines success or failure. In applying for a loan, you need to know what is happening outside your business. If the economy is in recession or inflationary, how would you maintain to grow, or how would you maintain or grow your business? What is the economic outlook of the city or state you're in? Those are the questions you ask yourself and know when you're looking for a loan or you're looking for a source of capital or money. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is a loan request checklist. This is one of the checklists I had to take a picture of this because I got it from someone that I actually have experience and I've been able to loan millions of dollars to actually grow their business and turn their business into a thriving business. And usually, as you see, You want to make sure you have like your introduction, but just know that every lender is different. It's not one, it's not, the requirements are not for everyone. Every lender has its requirement. But one thing is that once you have all of this in place, you should be able to meet any other lender's requirements. So this is just the basics of what you should have. So you have to, their introduction, they would need your company name and type of entity and the amount of loan you're requesting and what you're going to use the loan for. So you want to also tell them a story of what you definitely want to use the money for. And they would also want to see your capacity. They want to see your debt, like for your capital, they want to see your debt to equity ratio, your net profit, the conditions, the coverage, your projections, your cash flow projections, your debt to income ratio, your liquidity, and all of that. And the list goes on and on. And the more information you're able to put together without them asking for going back and forth, the better your chances are, because it just shows that you have everything prepared. Then, as a recap, we want to know how to make financing easier. For you to make financing easier, you need to establish your credibility. Have complete and well-prepared financial packages, which are the loan packages. You demonstrate financial feasibility of your company's existing projects and new projects. And you also need to know that each deal is different. No company is the same. Each company is different. Each business is different, and each lender is different. And so the deal needs to be studied, modeled, and managed. And for forecasting, it is important to understand the dollar and cents of the transactions and how to turn the investment, which is the loan, into a win-win scenario. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. And I think it's time to take any questions.
Okay, Ms. Rumala, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate you taking the time. I'm giving you my little small golf clap over here for giving us some information there. Would invite anyone who has any additional questions to go ahead and type them in the chat. We do have one from Gasagara, which says, out of curiosity, does a business have to check all of the 4 on the risk checklist? If yes, we'd love to know if the order goes sequentially. Can you speak to that?
Could you please repeat the question?
I sure can. So on your risk checklist, does a business have to check all of the 4 main categories that are on the risk checklist? And if the answer is yes, do they have to be in the order that they were presented in your presentation?
I would say no, it doesn't have to be in the order, but generally that checklist just helps that those are what the lenders look into your company in order to provide you a loan. They want to see all of that. And also, like I said earlier, it depends on the lender.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing the answer is yes, got to your question. You do need to cover all of them, but not necessarily in that order.
Oh,
Can I add one thing to that?
Go right ahead, Mr. Holmes.
So I agree 100%. The only thing I would add to it is just regarding collateral. So for small businesses, one, a bank, the lender wants, they would love for you to have collateral, right? Because in case you default, they want to be able to come back and sell your stuff. They don't really want to do that, but that's like just in case. So having things, so thinking ahead, like, okay, before you get rid of that car you just paid off, or before you get rid of that equipment, or whatever the case is, maybe keeping it, So you can leverage that as collateral for your next loan. But if you don't, okay, if you don't have that, and what we see quite often is that, that's really, besides having your credit score, not having any collateral is really like the number 2 reason a lot of small businesses don't get funding, because they don't have any collateral, okay? And so most lenders will just say, nope, sorry, we can't do it. But if you don't have collateral, there are other options. These are unsecured loans, but you may be looking at higher interest rates because they are more risky to the lender. So there are other options out there, but the less you have of Dorothy's checklist checked off, the higher interest rate's going to be, because you're more risk to the lender and they're going to make you pay for it.
Yeah, I think pretty much that answers my question. My curiosity was more tending towards like new businesses that just started, starting out of, from scratch. That's why I wanted to understand how, this might be a facilitating way to actually business that actually starting from, from the ground up. That's why my curiosity was coming from.
I think that's a great point. And one of the things that, especially whether a new or a seasoned business, Gassigar, that these lenders are going to be looking for, they want to make sure they're going to get a good return on their investment, right? So they want to make sure they've got a good relationship with you, and they want to know everything that they need to know, whether it's, what collateral do you have that they can recover on their money in case something goes south? What's your business plan? How strong is your business plan? What are you looking at? What projects are you working on that are potentially going to make money, even if you're in challenging economic headwinds like recession or inflation or supply chain issues and things like that? So they're definitely going to want to make sure that they understand you. And I think one of the good points in Mr. Rumala's presentation was you want to check them out too, right? Because there are a lot of different sources of capital, and you want to think intelligently about what you're doing and who you're getting your money from, because you're going to need to pay it back. So just some things to think about.
Appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great presentation, Mr. Rumala. If anybody has any other questions, I think we have recorded this, so you are going to have the opportunity to review some of this information directly from our Bell site, and I'll be providing a link there. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that now, so that you can see the prior. We did an HR session and then a finance session today. I'm just going to pop that in the chat so that you all can take a look at what we've got news-wise on our site. Okay. So what we do post-presentation is we entertain your business questions and speak to you about any potential challenges that you may have that you'd like help with. So the floor is open and the floor is all of yours.
I've got some questions. If you guys don't have questions, I have questions. It's okay. So this is for Dorothy. All right. So you had a great slide when you're working with clients, you had a great slide that talked about internal sources.
Yes.
Of getting capital, raising capital. From your clients, from talking to them, what are some of the ways that if they, let's say if they can't get a loan from external sources, what are some ways you help them to kind of maybe make things more efficient, maybe by reducing costs or things like that, or whatever your techniques are, help them to kind of improve things internally so they can have more money that way?
Okay, for the internal, what I usually do is there's one, hold on one second, I'll just go back to what I have. There's one thing I always tell them is there's always a way to look into your business and see what you can find. For most of them, I help them with their inventory, because sometimes a lot of business owners, they don't have the resources to pay for their inventory right away. So they have a way where you can actually get your trade credit. That's where the trade credit comes in. How do you pay for your goods? Do you use all the cash you have to pay for your goods, or you're able to get hold on one second, I can see. Can you see me or can you hear me?
We can see you and hear you. We don't see your screen though. Are you trying to share your screen?
Oh, okay. You don't see my screen, right?
No, we don't see your screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now I see you. I think my screen was blocking the whole screen, so I couldn't see anyone. So usually I would advise them on their inventory, because sometimes you can use that period of time, because they have suppliers, manufacturers, or that can actually give you inventory for a period of time, and you don't have to pay outrightly. And once you sell them, then you can pay for it. That's another way. Instead of you having to, since you can get a loan to pay for the goods outright, they have, you can take trade credits, and that's from internal. You don't have to go out to source for that. So that's one way I actually advise them on, and that has worked really well.
What about raising prices? Do you ever have to talk to a client and convince them to raise their prices?
Raising prices, that has to do with, like I said, you have to know what's going on around you, because you can't just raise prices just because you want to have more, just because you want to make more money. You have to be realistic. It has to have a reason why you're raising your price. And the raising your price, does it add value, or are you increasing the value in any way? So for you to raise the price, I always advise that you look for a value that you're increasing, so that you can raise the price. Because why do I buy yours at a higher price when I can go to another place to get it for cheaper? So the thing is accessibility and also the value. So people, because a lot of times people pay for value, and that's one thing you always need to create, like all embark on value. You always need to give value. And I'm telling you, if the value is there, you raise the price, it will be that will be another way that you can have more profit and increase your cash flow.
So one of the things you mentioned, inventory. Do you have any recommendations for businesses that are just starting out when they're looking to price their inventory? Like, are there different ways that they should talk to a professional like you as to how to set that up? Like, for example, should they use like a weighted average method? Should they use a last in first out? Like, what are the different, some of those different perspectives that they should be thinking about as a small business starting out to price their inventory?
Yeah, in pricing your business, for me, I generally look to the fact that you have to put in place, and this is where proper bookkeeping comes into. You have to make sure you're covering all your expense, because I've seen business owners that actually think they're making money, whereby they're losing money because they're pricing their goods less than the expense they actually have. So for people that are just starting business, I always advise that you make a list, you make a plan. Okay, you have to put everything on, and this is where good bookkeeping comes in place. You make sure you have everything down, so you know exactly the cost that is going into your finished goods or finished service, so that you'll be able to price the goods properly. Because you don't want a situation raising. One thing again is, when you're starting a business, you want to have your price, you want to be sturdy with your price as much as possible. You don't want to start and after a day or two or a week, you're like, okay, it's not working, I can just increase my price. It wouldn't work like that. So you just want to make sure at first you get it right. And if you have to make changes down the line, you could do that. But you always make sure you account for your expense before you fix a price. And you also have to look around how are other people pricing their goods, because it's not just your business. You also have to know what's going on in your state, what's going on in your city, what's going on in your industry. And that helps you with the pricing. And also there are places that you can go on to. They have websites you can go on to, and you can also talk to consultants. And I think even the department, or I think the the commerce department, some chambers and all of that, they have a lot of resources that you can actually do also. So that's how I would approach it.
I have one more question, Dorothy. This is regarding gathering of paperwork.
Okay.
So when you're working with clients and they're like, hey, I want to get a loan, lender said I need all this stuff. Okay. What are some of the normal documents that people need to kind of gather up in order to satisfy a lender?
You need your financial statements. You need at least 3 years. And this depends if you're starting a business or you're already in business. And a lot of lenders want to have your at least 3 years of your financial statement, which is your tax returns also. And they also want to see your projected cash flow, which is to show how you're going to repay your loan. And like I said, it's always lender specific. Like different people require different things, but the basic things are just your bank statement and your financial statement, which has to do also with your taxes, because a lot of people wouldn't loan anything to you if you don't file your taxes. And the projection, you need your projection. You also need they also want to see a business plan, because that helps them take a look at you, even if that it's not like a financial statement, but that helps them take a look at your company. So you have to have a business plan. That also.
Okay, very good. I don't have any other questions. How about you, Mr. Brown?
I am putting in the chat, I don't have any other questions, but I'm putting in the chat some resources, the SBA and some of the Maryland state level resources for you all to take a look at, especially for businesses just starting out. These are, of course, provided for by governments, and it's always good for you all to take an opportunity. This is pursuant to Ms. Rumala's remarks. Take a look at them and see what's out there. There's quite a bit of information that I think can help you all just as you're getting started, or maybe answer some of the questions that you may have, especially when it comes to looking at things like assessing your industry. As Mr. Rumala mentioned, you definitely want to understand who your competitors are, what the landscape is, what the tools are that are there for you. I definitely strongly at Bell, we recommend making sure that you've got your business plan in place, because that really is your roadmap. What do you want to do with your business? What are your targets? What goals do you have? And then, of course, once you've put that vision out there, you want to think about how are you going to attain that vision, right? And that's really what that business plan is doing for you. I think it's definitely important for you to complement all of that. You're speaking with Mr. Muller or a similar professional with what your cash flows look like and what your financial forecasts look like. How much do you expect to expend cash-wise to reach your business targets? How long is it going to be in your estimation before you're profitable? And I also recommend when you do that estimation, which you should have a professional assisting you with when you're doing that, doing it conservatively. You definitely want to be very conservative in how much money you think you're going to make, and then be pleasantly surprised later than the other way around, right? So you definitely want to make sure that you're incorporating a lot of that into your thinking as you're planning your business, especially from a small business perspective. And then, of course, I'm always going to go back to Bell. You can reach out to Bell. We've got some educational resources that are out there. You can take advantage of our money meetups, such as this one. Occasionally, we will offer different cohorts. One of the things that I was going to mention to close the business here was our partnership with Hotel Revival Baltimore, where we actually just graduated a cohort of individual businesses, and one of them won the opportunity to present. I think they won $10,000, Mr. Holmes, if I'm correct, or they were awarded, they earned $10,000 as a result of the presentation. So again, we're focused not just on from a lending perspective, but also on providing resources and education, not only to Baltimore, but throughout Maryland to various different businesses. So we definitely want to make sure that we're your stop for that. Okay. Any other questions from any business? I'm looking in the chat, and Ms. Miles, you're welcome.
I have a question, Mr. Brown.
Go right ahead.
I'm a service provider, so I do have several clients that we do have a long-term contract with them. So in other words, incoming invoices will be coming in. Would those be considered asset or not?
Yes, I mean, I think that you already have the contracts established, right? You're saying, and
Right.
Yeah. So those are definitely going to be assets that you got. Ms. Rumala, do you want to speak a little bit more to how you might value something like that or price something like that?
Okay. So from what you said you already have the contract and you have the invoices coming, and you want to know if it's asset, meaning if it's a capital for your business.
Right. So instead of like having a car or something like that, can I present that to the lender, say that these are what is going to come into me, so this is how I'm going to support that loan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can use that. Some of the lenders accept that because you already have like a contract that it's coming in. So yes, absolutely, you can actually use that. But like I said, each lender is different. But on a general note, they would most lenders would accept that, especially when you go to the source. And that's why I emphasize on like the focus-based loan, because some of them, some of them, they only lend, they have people that learn to like someone that is in your situation, you know, that only has that as a, like already have contracts. You could find people that can lend to you using that.
Yes, instead of using asset, I should have used collateral, I guess, right? That's the correct word.
I think this is more like a receivable, it sounds like, what you've got, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions that we can answer?
Oh, and Farhad, if you're looking for lenders who specialize in factoring or invoice lending, we can definitely make that connection for you. We don't do that at Bell, but we have some great partners who can help you with that if you need that. Okay.
Okay. Barring any other questions, we want to thank you all for coming out virtually, so to speak, right? And attending. Thank you very much, Ms. Rumala, for your presentation. Thank you all very much for your questions. We are going to have this information at our joinbell.org site, so please make sure that you take a look at that. Again, if you are not a member, or if you are a member and want to encourage somebody else to be a member, please have them check our site out. We are in our summer membership drive. So we've got some options out there that fit every pocketbook. So again, thanks everybody. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you again, hopefully before next month, but at least by next month for our next monthly first Wednesdays money meetup. Have a great day.
Thank you.